Good morning, Facebook friends of Optimum Ed. My name is Amanda Team, and I am the Director of Community Outreach for Optimum Ed.
And I'm Tom Leahy. I'm the Managing Partner here. Thanks for joining us this morning.
And we are so excited to have our guest here today. This is Dr. Julia Lloyd from Grove Christian School, and we also have with us from Richmond Christian School, Cliff Bruce, and I'm sorry, Cliff Williams. I'm sorry, not the first name.
That's the first name, right? You're
Yeah,
good.
exactly.
You almost sound like he's in trouble.
Yeah.
Cliff Bruce.
So they are representing Grove Christian School and Richmond Christian School and Optimum Ed. We have we provide basically career and coaching for young people and high school students to figure out, what their future is going to be in their career. So we have, I'm going to give them a little bit of time to just introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their schools. Dr. Lloyd, if you'd like to start.
Great. So I'm Dr. Lloyd from Grove Christian School. We're located right in the heart of Henrico County on the corner of Parham and Ridge Road. We're a 21st century Leadership Academy for Christ, fully accredited pre-K to 12 school. But I think the thing that I'm the most excited about in Richmond is I have several brothers and sisters in Christ who are also leaders at Christian schools, and we have a network where we pray together and lift one another up and really seek academic and spiritual excellence together, which is why I'm excited to be here with Cliff Williams today. Part of our quest for academic and spiritual excellence was working with Optimum Ed. So it's nice to be here with you today and talk about our shared experiences. We like to say we don't compete with one another. We're good if all the Christian schools are full.
Exactly.
So we want to do our very best together for one another and for our kids.
That's wonderful. Collaboration is wonderful.
Sure is.
Good stuff.
And I'm Cliff, and I'm head of school at Richmond Christian. Richmond Christian has been around since 1951 in different variations, but we're located off Belmont Road in Chesterfield County. And like Julia said, our goal is to educate children by reaching hearts and minds for Christ. And Optimum Ed was important to us in that process, especially in reaching their minds and trying to get them to think about what it is that God has for them to discover their talents and abilities and that kind of thing. So it's been a great addition. But I do agree with you about the, collaborating together as schools is vitally important, and we're all going to succeed together. Doesn't work well when we don't. So it's a good thing. And it's good to have partners like Optimum Ed. This has been a really good process already this school year.
Well, that's so wonderful to hear.
Well, Optimum Ed was able to me, recognize our unique needs as a private Christian school, and really work with us as the business, ministry, educational institution that we are. And I love that we didn't look at what private schools can't do in terms of counseling and educational assessments, but what can we do that's highly customized? Because in a sense, the small Christian school experience or the private school experiences are inherently customized. So it complements, I think, what we're already trying to do.
So you mentioned the assessment. Tom, give us a little bit of background summary on the assessment through Optimum Ed and what exactly it does.
Right. So for us, the assessment is the starting point for everything we do for young people to help them find a way forward in life. And it's the foundation. And why do we say that? It's because we really need to do better planning ahead of higher education so that we can make that whole process more efficient in terms of time, energy, and of course cost. And that really starts with understanding the direction the young person should be going in terms of their life and career. And so that's what the assessment's all about. It's built to look at their aptitude, their personality, and their interests, and those things come together to create a profile that then delivers a list of jobs that are appropriate for that profile based upon what people who have a similar profile are actually doing in the world. So it's very very practical approach, and then it allows us to do online research to figure out if there's future viability in those jobs for the student and that sort of thing. So if we can do a good job of figuring out what direction we should be going in terms of career, it's very easy to translate that into an academic path and college major. That's what we do.
So, from a logistical and an affordability point of view, with the assessment and incorporating this into your day and into the process for the students, can you talk a little bit about what that experience was and how that worked?
Well, I came at this a little differently because I was able to experience this as a parent first, and then I began to look at what does it look like in my school setting. So I liked it so much as a parent, I thought every kid should have this. How can we make this happen? So just to unpack my own kids' experience, seeking academic direction was really about seeking what are my gifts and talents, and in what way do I pursue them the most efficiently? Because we don't want to wander around the block for 5 years and figure it out. And what I liked about the assessment as a parent is the same thing I like about it as a school head. It looked at what is the unique combination of aptitudes and attitudes and gifts and talents, is the way I would capture it spiritually, that this child has, that this young adult has. And how can we show them the breadth of things they could do, but also begin to help them narrow that into a direction. And I remember feeling excited I had 2 sons that took it, and they're very different people, and feeling excited about the information that I got as a parent. Some of it confirmed things I knew about them, some things surprised me, but it was like the opportunity to have a meaningful conversation. And that's what my parents struggle with, is their child suddenly is, pursuing life after high school, and they don't know necessarily how to talk to them about, they think they're fabulous, but they need some data to back up why I think they're fabulous.
You need someone else to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they also have to look at, everybody has dreams for their own child, but how does that line up with their aptitudes or what they want to do?
Right.
And how does that translate into finding a school that's a fit or finding a career pathway that's a fit? And so for us, bringing Optimum Ed into the school day as just a regular, as we go kind of experience. The assessment took all of maybe 90 minutes, so a class period and a half. But as the kids got the assessments back, and we're looking at them with their parents, those parents got the same experience I did, saying, wow. And one young lady in particular said, I had no idea I could do this much.
Right.
And
Because
that
at the
was
end of the
true.
assessment, there is a list of jobs and career opportunities. And so as a student, I've seen them look at that and say, wow, I can do all of these things. It's a real confidence builder, I think. So, Cliff, what was your experience?
Well, ours is a little different in that we had a guidance counselor on staff, and late in the school year last year, they decided not to return. So I know I had met with Amanda earlier, and we had talked, and we weren't sure how it would fit. But I can say this, even if we hire another guidance counselor, right now we had some people on staff that have picked up those duties. Even if we proceed with hiring someone full-time to be a guidance counselor, we would still work with Optimum Ed because of the experience we've had. And the assessment, it just, to me, I know those students, and we were a little bit behind the 8 ball, so we did our juniors and seniors together.
We did too.
And it nailed them. I mean, it was just spot on. And the first one was we did a test case in the summer.
Right.
And that was exceptional. I don't know if I ever told Tom this, but that child was a child of the board chair. So we selected it. We wanted to select somebody from our board because we felt like they'd be supportive and understanding.
And then want to tie that day.
Well, it would have helped. But we felt, rather than trying to report this to the board, if we have a board member, they can say to the board. And it just worked out. It had to be the chair, and she loves it and loves the whole process. But I've heard from so many of our parents, the assessment was critical in helping their child, like you said. You know, they understand kind of like, hey, I can do this job, or I didn't realize I have this ability.
Right.
You know, I never thought of myself in this way. I know with this student, we did the test this summer. There were some leadership things, and he didn't see himself as a leader.
Mhm.
But I think it's given him some confidence. I've watched him just this fall and watch him, you know, grow a little bit in that area.
Well, they're, you know, young people's exposure to the world is sometimes limited to their circle of people, their parents, what they see on the TV, and you know, social media, whatever. So this really opens up the world possibilities for them and shows them what they can do. You know, it's very empowering process.
One of the parts that I love the most is when Tom meets one-on-one with students, and then he sends us the little paragraph assessment, and we know the kids more than he does. I'm like, how did he get that in a 30-minute meeting?
Yeah.
You know, but it's because of the assessment and because of his experience. And again, spot on.
I wanted to tag on something you said about the guidance counselor role.
Mm-hmm.
We have a director of student services, which is a new role, and guidance falls under her purview.
Mm-hmm.
But any guidance director has the range of the social and emotional issues that just come with adolescence, plus career and educational counseling. And, you know, it's kind of like, which mold do you whack first? But one of the things I liked about Optimum Ed is it empowers us to take care of that piece so that we don't have to pick between this and this. We can shore up the educational career counseling, but not neglect the social and emotional support that we need to provide for students. And they're intimately related, but you know, you can't pay equal attention to two overwhelming priorities. And so I agree with you that even in the presence of that role, the tool is, you know, it just kind of amps up what you're able to do.
Right. And I believe that that is one of the things that Optimum Ed, you know, we try to be a resource for the schools and to just help with that process and help it along. And the other thing is to early, you know, the earlier in the high school career, you know, the better track, the better planning, and all of that happens. So.
But you know, that's not to say if a student transfers into your school as a junior that you couldn't, like I would feather somebody back in. We're going to catch our sophomores this spring.
Right. Same here.
And I like that cadence. But if I have a junior or somebody that comes in and hasn't done it,
Over the summer,
I want to have that conversation. I want to give them that information because the parent is about to make a huge emotional and financial investment or help their child figure it out. And it's a $20,000 to $30,000 error. You know,
Absolutely.
if you're going into this with just loving your fight songs, you know.
Tom, what are some of the statistics with college freshmen dropping out and changing majors?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's really appalling the job that we're doing for our young people in higher education. I mean, they tell us that something like 30% of first-time college students drop out in the first year. We're only graduating something like 20% in 4 years, a little over 50% in 6. So when you look at those young people that attempted college, only about 50% are actually completing a degree. And so, and why is that? Because we don't think about the direction we're going ahead of time. You know, so we go into school. The average student changes majors 3 times. You know, or
And that definitely adds to the cost.
It adds to the cost. Yeah, well, the average graduate has 150 credits they've earned, when most majors only require 120. So think about the cost of 30 additional credit hours. Right?
Can I also share a story? And this is, you know, a parent story, but it's very pertinent to the role I have. So we brought my son in, and he was my oldest son, who was a recent high school graduate. And he took the assessment, and it confirmed he was very artistic, which we knew. And he was pursuing an art major. And then one of the things the assessment did is it provided him feedback on other areas he was strong in, including mechanical and leadership stuff. And it gave him some confidence that as he faced that crossroads of, do I really want to do art? He was able to consider another direction.
Mm-hmm.
And subsequently, and this was another thing that OptimumEd did, is because they resourced with different professionals in a variety of career pathways. When he said, I think I want to do something else, he ended up pursuing being an electrician. And he's working on his journeyman's license with a great company, local company. And he has a career pathway, but he was able to see career pathway rather than just college. And some of my parents, I know that a college degree is absolutely critical, but we're facing an incredible shortage in our trade
Oh,
industries.
yes.
Very much.
And I love that OptimumEd did not say, they said career pathways. So you could look at the big picture, the ultimate goal, which is employment,
Right.
self-sufficiency,
And marketable skills.
marketable skills.
And that looks different for
Right.
different students, and that's the beauty of the assessment, is you really get this overall picture of the student. Maybe it's military, maybe it's a trade, maybe it's college. I mean, you can make a lot better decisions.
And maybe it's a combination of those.
Could be.
That was the other
Right.
thing that Mark looked at. He said, do I want to go into the military to pursue a technical career, or do I want to pursue a technical career? And he really likes the company he works for, and had bought a financial planning book the other day to plan, his business. But he's a 20-year-old imagining possibilities. And I think the basis of that was not looking at college as this overwhelming hill or mountain you have to climb, but what does your post-high school planning look like, and how does it connect with who you are? And I hope other parents can feel that peace about knowing your child is pursuing something meaningful to them. Because it's painful when your kid doesn't know what they're doing.
Right. I mean, so speaking of parents, Cliff, have you gotten feedback from your
Oh,
parents?
many
Can you
parents.
share
It's
a little bit?
all extremely positive. The first thing, with the first meeting, they were grateful when they came to the meeting because it didn't cost them anything. School was bearing the cost, so they were really grateful. I think they thought, oh, now the hammer's going to fall. But they were grateful for that. But after they got into the process, I've received a lot of emails, just conversations one-on-one, and thanking us for bringing OptimumEd into Richmond Christian.
Your parents were very engaged. You
Oh,
had
yes.
a high turnout of parents that were really engaged. I thought so. That's fortunate.
And the workshops for the parents has been wonderful as well.
Good.
Some of our parents have been to college. Some, this is a new experience. And so for them to have time with Tom, with the different workshops, it helped answer a lot of questions up front for them. And even those that had been through it, the process before, I think it helped them understand more about the whole process.
Well, and the college process has changed drastically since,
absolutely.
I went to college, and so just understanding the way all of those changes, it's a whole different animal now.
Well, plus business and industry is changing so fast.
Exactly.
So the degrees they're getting and the transferability, that's another, challenge. I wanted to speak to the scalability of the OptimumEd model. I probably get emails from 15 a week from different career resource packages that want to, sell you on their program. And what I liked about working with OptimumEd was the customized solution. It was scalable to where we were as a school and where we could invest. And I do think parents have the same reaction. They're seriously, what are you going to charge me? I'm trying to be efficient and effective, because if your child has a good experience, then they'll tell other people about private Christian education experiences. So, but we couldn't do that without the scalability. And that's one of the things that I would ask other people to consider if they're looking at this type of solution, is that don't go into it with we couldn't possibly. Talk about what you can do, and you can scale up or scale back from there. I haven't found another organization that was willing to scale it. or to look
True.
at different models.
So Cliff, if you were talking to other heads of school, what would you communicate to them about this?
Probably start with the assessment because it's unique.
Mhm.
And the results. I would tell them about that, but also just the experience of working on them. It's been a good experience, good relationship with you and Tom. Our students are comfortable with the process. I'm really excited about the sophomores, you know, this spring and getting, because then we're getting on a schedule that where we're getting ahead of the game a little
Exactly.
bit. And that's what I would tell others. Get in and look at OptumMed and test a student like we did,
Mhm.
and you'll see that it's something worthwhile, and that's been a great benefit. I think it's a selling feature for us. It didn't start out that way, but it is something that helps us when we're marketing our school for enrollment to let people know we've got this process in place that we're using that will help your child, help you understand, you know, what a career path looks like.
I'm bringing this up at our open houses.
Oh yes, we are too.
I
Very
hope
good.
so. And, we are always available to be on location, on site, come to open houses, speak to the process, answer questions. We are here to help and support and be a resource in any way we possibly can. So, well,
Very
thank
good.
you
Yes,
so
this has
much.
been great.
This has
Thank you
been
very
so
much.
informative.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you.
a lot of great information. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah.
And that's all for this week. But thank you, Julie. Thank you, Cliff.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next week.
All right.
Can you tag Grove Christian School in this?